into madness. So the Regulation G got leaked. Now, I don't know what this means. It's in a different language, and the translate post button isn't working. And I could do the easy thing, which is Google Translate, but that's kind of stupid. So the easy thing to do here, aside from the smart thing, which is Google Translate, is to analyze this image right here. That's Koraidon and Koraidon, both legendaries. That pretty much confirms that this is going to be a restricted format, which means we are going to have to worry about different Pokemon. So I have the usage of Picolytics for Regulation F here, but that's not what we're focusing on. So the big thing will be legendaries. I forgot to pull up a tab for that. So a restricted format basically means, if you don't know, that some legendary Pokemon are going to be allowed. Now that can be Pokemon like Groudon, Kyogre, Koraidon, Miraidon. In my opinion, the scariest, which is Calyrex-Shadow. So Weather Wars are definitely going to be making a return. Kyogre, I feel, is going to be fairly good. I don't think it'll be insanely good, just because of how much competition it's going to have and how many weaknesses it has. So Kyogre has good rain, and there's some good rain Pokemon like Basculegion, Swift Swim Basculegion. Now I haven't seen Swift Swim Basculegion very much recently, so it might have fallen off. Yeah, Basculegion's fallen off very hard, but it could make a return. With that being said, I don't think it's likely. On rain teams, I've mostly been seeing Archelodon. Archelodon with, is it Electroshot? Yeah. I've seen a lot of Archelodon on rain teams run Electroshot. I can actually see how popular Archelodon is. Archelodon's around 5%, so that's not too common. Ogerpon could go well on a rain team. Honestly, from what I'm seeing right here, rain isn't looking that good, if I'm being completely honest. So I don't think rain's going to be a huge staple of the metagame, especially with Miraidon, which is going to be a top Pokemon, almost certainly. These are some insanely good stats, good typing. I mean, this is going to be a nasty move pool to go up against. You have moves like Electro Drift in electric terrain. Now, the ability is the scary thing. So far we don't have a very good electric terrain setter. We have it's, I think, Pincurchin. Pincurchin is our only automatic electric terrain setter with its ability Electric Surge. As you can see from these pretty bad stats and not good move pool, it's not used like at all. I can even check the usage of Pincurchin. That is horrible. No one's using Pincurchin like at all, which is for good reason. It's a bad Pokemon. But Miraidon is a really good Pokemon. This thing, I want to say it speed ties with Fluttermane and Chien-Pao, right? Yeah, and then yeah, Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, Miraidon, and Koraidon all speed tie, which is actually kind of scary. Now, with that being said, I don't think Miraidon is going to run max speed, just because of how bulky this thing is. I think it'll invest a lot into bulk and attack. But the actual electric terrain setting is very huge here, because that enables a lot of the future Paradox Pokemon to become a lot stronger. So, I'll just scroll down, actually. My screen's kind of goofy. I got a goofy monitor. Can't actually see the scroll bar. There we go, that's easier. So electric terrain will be able to make some of the future Paradox Pokemon that weren't previously viable more viable. Like Iron Valiant, for example. I don't think this will necessarily be an incredibly strong Pokemon in the upcoming format, but this is very solid typing, in my opinion. Decent stats, and it can enable Quark Drive without having to worry about booster energy. Because previously, the only way to activate Quark Drive was Pink Urchin, maybe a Pokemon that manually sets terrain, which isn't very good. You don't have enough time and doubles to really do that reliably. And then also, did I already say booster energy? I might have. But booster energy takes away the slot, which is why it's one of the huge reasons why future Paradox Pokemon have been so much more reliable, because you can set them up with Sun. But now that we're going to have a reliable way to set it up with electric terrain, it's going to be very powerful. I think that Icy Spinner on Chien-Pao is going to become more common. So let me go to... Actually, I'm going to open up Showdown. So let's go to Chien-Pao. So the current set that Chien-Pao runs is Icicle Crash, Sucker Punch, Sacred Sword, Protect. This is a very standard set. I think Icy Spinner is going to become more common because it gets rid of terrain. Getting rid of terrain against a Koraidon is going to be huge because there's a few ways you can counter terrain. You can counter it with your own terrain or get rid of it with something like Ice Spinner. I think that's just going to be huge. The reason why a lot of people will run Icicle Crash over Icicle Spinner is because Icicle Crash isn't a contact move. That means you don't break your Focus Sash from taking Rocky Helmet damage, which is huge. Unfortunately, there is that 10% miss chance. That is really annoying to deal with. But I think that'll be worth it just to nerf Miraidon's electric terrain a little bit. Wait, hang on. Yeah, okay. That is what I thought. I panicked for a second. I thought that was a kind of like Primal Kyogre and Groudon's ability, where it stays up as long as it's on field. Now, let's talk about Koraidon for a second. So Koraidon's pretty strong, good stats. Its typing isn't the best because it has that really bad 4x weakness to Fairy. Now, you can get around this, as we've seen with, what was the name of it? I do not remember. Alolan pseudo-legendary. Whatever. It's seen some usage, and it was able to Terra out of its weakness. Terra Steel, specifically, was a really good way to get around this weakness, but the problem is that creates a Terra Hog for it. You don't want a Pokemon that needs to Terra to be on your team, because that removes a lot of the flexibility of your team. So that isn't ideal, especially with a 4x weakness to Fairy. Fairy is very common, especially with Fluttermane running around. Fluttermane is a monstrous special attacker, and with a special defense being lower than its regular defense, with a 4x weakness to Fairy, that's not ideal. I mean, it has respectable bulk. I think if you put a Assault Vest on this thing, it could take a few hits pretty well. But another problem is this thing is a Sun setter. Now, setting Sun with such a strong Pokemon is pretty good. Like, this is a very strong Pokemon. But that means it competes with Groudon. Groudon is another Sun setter. Now, the question is, why run Koraidon over Groudon? Neither are fire types, so they both don't even get the fire boost from the Sun. So that's kind of disappointing. Groudon doesn't have the 4x weakness. It has a higher attack stat, its defense is higher, but its special defense is lower. They're the same HP. Its speed is a bit lower, but that shouldn't be a huge problem. I mean, moveset, I'm not sure which one's actually better. I haven't taken a huge look at these two. But I'm sure they both have their ups and downs. I think this one can run Dragon Dance, right? Does it have Dragon Dance? Oh, I don't... No, it doesn't get Dragon Dance, does it? Ooh, that's actually crushing. Okay, Koraidon doesn't even get Dragon Dance. That's bad. I think so much of this upcoming meta is going to be weak to ice types. And that's not ideal, because I strongly feel like Chien-Pao is going to be a insanely strong Pokemon into the upcoming meta. Ice Dark Stab is pretty strong. Solid attack and speed stat with a insanely good ability. That basically just makes its already respectable attack stat monstrous. Very good moveset. I think this thing eats a lot of things alive. For example, Koraidon that we were just covering, Tuno's weakness to ice. This thing, it's not gonna enjoy eating a hit. We can actually calc that right now. So let's go Chien-Pao. Where's the set that I'm looking for? Yeah. Where's Sash? Oh, there it is. It didn't say Sash. And then let's grab Koraidon. Let's go for... Let's grab a blank set. Let's be generous. Say that it maxes out its attack. I mean, its HP and its defense. So even with max bulk Koraidon, this thing guaranteed 2-hit KO. Now, let's say it drops this to a more reasonable, let's say 50. That's still pretty good. I think there's a very good chance that Chien-Pao could one-hit some Koraidon sets. Maybe get it within range of getting knocked out. Now, let's try Miraidon, which is what I think is going to be more popular. Blank set again. 250 HP. Pretty much the same thing. Actually, Miraidon is less physically bulky. Hang on. Yeah, Miraidon's less physically bulky, so this thing could very quickly get dropped by Chien-Pao. I feel like Chien-Pao is going to be insanely good into this upcoming regulation. I mean, sure, these things can tear out of the weakness, and that makes them drop a lot less quickly. But it's still really, really good that Chien-Pao is a counter to these things. Now, I think it's time I cover the Pokemon that I'm incredibly scared of, which is Calyrex-Shadow Rider. Now, this is already a scary stat distribution. That is a very high speed stat. That actually outspeeds Chien-Pao, Miraidon, Koraidon, and Fluttermane. That is a devastatingly high special attack. Its ability is two abilities in one, which is Unnerve and Grim Neigh. That basically means... I think that means your opponent cannot eat berries, and every time they get a kill, it boosts their special attack. That's horrifying. especially with its signature move, which is, where is it? Huh. Oh. Astral Barrage. 120 base power move. Hits both targets. And has a 100% accuracy. This move is horrible. This is far worse than Goldango's Make It Rain. Because if we look at Make It Rain, it's basically the same thing, but lowers your special attack by 1 stage. And it's a steel type. Astral Barrage is scary. I think there's going to be 2 ways to handle this thing. Either you take it down before it takes you down, or you run normal types, or even Terra Normal to be immune to the Astral Barrage. I am thinking Farigiraf is actually going to be a very solid counter just because of its normal type that it already has, and Armor Tail is already very good because it blocks immunity. This thing is respectably bulky. It's a very strong support. This thing offers a lot with Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Helping Hand, Imprison. This thing has a lot of different sets it can run, and it has found a lot of success. Let's actually look at its usage right now. Farigiraf is sitting at a comfortable 11%. That's not bad. That's respectable. Now, I do think that percent will drop off a little bit, but that's to be expected. Farigiraf has managed to find a niche throughout most of these regulation changes, and that's because, kind of like Incineroar, it becomes more valuable the stronger the format gets. Incineroar, I think, is another good Pokemon to talk about. I think Incineroar is going to both have its uses and not. I think a lot of the upcoming meta is going to be special attack focused with Calyrex-Shadow Rider and Koraidon, but it's still going to have its uses just because of how powerful it is with moves like Fake Out, Parting Shot, Knock Off. It's a strong Pokemon overall. And that Dark type immunity to Psychic and the resist to Ghost is going to be very valuable. Now, going back to Calyrex-Shadow, I think 2 things worth pointing out is Ghost and Dark type. It is 4 times weak to both. Now, I would say that is very easily exploitable, except for the fact that Terra is in this generation. That means Calyrex-Shadow goes from being a terrifying Pokemon to a absolutely, mortifying Pokemon. Sorry, I had a drink. So this thing can, let's say, Terra Dark or Terra Fairy to suddenly resist. I think Terra Dark's the best one to run because you then resist both Ghost and Dark. Luckily, it doesn't have a very good defense stat. I think that's definitely exploitable. I can actually run some calcs right now just to see. Calyrex-Shadow blank set. So Sucker Punch very easily KOs, but let's say this thing is running Dark. Okay, Sacred Sword actually has a chance to win at KO, but the problem is Calyrex-Shadow does outspeed Chien-Pao. Because I think what this thing's going to be doing is it's going to be running max attack, max speed, probably 4 defense as well, just like what Chien-Pao is running. So if it runs the defensive Terra type of Dark, which I think is very possible because those 4 times weaknesses are devastating, that makes Sacred Sword not it's not always gonna 1-hit KO. Sucker Punch is not doing anything here if it Terras. Now let's say it goes for a more offensive Terra type like Ghost to get the stab on its is Astral Barrage, I think. Yeah. So Astral Barrage isn't actually threatening Chien-Pao very much. That's actually shockingly low. Wow. Oh wait, hang on. It's special attack that I want to be maxing. That makes more sense. Okay. But Sucker Punch does still one-hit KO if it's running Terra Ghost, so Chien-Pao is very valuable here. Yeah, I'm really liking Chien-Pao into a lot of these offensive threats. I think Chien-Pao is going to be a very core component of the upcoming regulation. Calyrex-Shadow is going to be checked by Chien-Pao. Rhydon Koraidon going to be checked by Chien-Pao. Potentially even Groudon is going to be checked by Chien-Pao. I think Kyogre will be struggling in a format against a lot of these stronger Pokemon, like Miraidon. I think Miraidon kind of shuts down Kyogre usage just because of that electric typing. It kind of melts Kyogre. Groudon goes really well into Miraidon just because of that immunity to electric. I think that's pretty valuable. But Ogerpon Wellspring is still a counter to Kyogre if it does return in a meaningful sense. Even without Kyogre, I think Ogerpon Water is still the best form. Like, this is very solid defensive typing. I mean, sure, Hearthflame also has some good defensive typing. Like these are both very, very solid typings. Fire resists a bit more, but I think this ability on Wellspring is just a bit more valuable with the water immunity. And also the water type coverage is just a little bit better than the fire type coverage because you can get the fire type coverage from Incineroar. I think if you're going to run Hearthflame Ogerpon, I don't know if you also want to be running Incineroar. I mean, you definitely can. I'm sure it's been done before to great success. But I like a bit more type diversity on my team. If you can get it to work, I think it's very good to get it to work. I like the more defensive aspects and supportive options of Ogerpon Water. That's a personal opinion. I'm not being objective there. That's my preference. I think in a lot of aspects, fire works a lot better. Some people have made rock work. If you can do that, good on you. I don't see how. It doesn't seem great, but people have made it work. It's won a few tournaments. I think Ogerpon Grass is just objectively the worst one. I don't even want to talk about that one. It's just not good. Again, it's won tournaments. All of the forms have won tournaments, but it is the worst form. Now, I do want to talk about Urshifu, specifically Rapid Strike. So Rapid Strike kind of fell off and then regained popularity. So Urshifu Rapid Strike is back above regular Urshifu, but there was a period of time where regular Urshifu was higher than Rapid Strike, and they're not too far off. Of course, Rapid Strike is still higher up. I'm not sure if Urshifu Rapid Strike will still continue to be this high. I think just the existence and threat of Miraidon is going to be enough to shut down Rapid Strike. And the existence of Calyrex-Shadow Rider, I think, is going to be threatened by Urshifu Single Strike. Like, hitting Wicked Blow against a Calyrex, that might just one-hit it no matter what. I can actually check that. Let's go Urshifu. Let's run the Sash set. Ooh. Yeah, no, that kills it. And then even if it runs the dark coverage, Yeah, close combat then one hits. Yeah, I I think Urshifu Single Strike is a very good counter to Calyrex-Shadow. Calyrex-Shadow was a Pokemon that I was very concerned about, but after running a lot of these calcs and looking at things, it's not one that I'm incredibly frightened by. Of course, it is still a scary Pokemon. Like, it's not one you want to ignore, but I think it's going to be manageable at the very least. I think I've covered the main things I wanted to address. Now I want to go to the more goofy and niche options. So this is going to enable... Actually, I can just look at the Gen 9. Yeah, Scarlet and Violet. It's going to enable a lot of the wackier options, a lot of the sillier things, even. Oh, I guess it doesn't show everything. So Ting-Lu has kind of been coming back. Ting-Lu kind of got shut down by the existence of Urshifu Rapid Strike, but it's been coming back. Where is it? Did I misspell it? No? Yeah. So Ting-Lu, that's actually lower usage rate than I thought it would be. But Ting-Lu's done fairly well at some recent tournaments. It has some solid typing. Dark, I think, is... Like, Dark and Ground is going to be very strong typing into this upcoming format. Ground is immune to Koraidon's electric stab attacks. I don't think Koraidon is going to be too prevalent, although Koraidon would go pretty well into Ting-Lu. Ting-Lu has a very good bulk. Strong HP, good defense, not great special defense, but when you throw an Assault Vest and take into account its Vessel of Ruin ability, this thing becomes incredibly bulky, very hard to remove. I think this thing is strong against Calyrex-Shadow. I think it is strong against Koraidon. I'm not sure which other ones, but I'm sure there's some other ones that I'm not thinking of. I think Ting-Lu will definitely see a rise in usage. It's one that I plan to test out personally. It has a very strong moveset. It has a lot of staying power as well. Maybe I shouldn't be doing a stream that's just talking after being sick. Oh well, we keep going. What else was I thinking? Smeargle. Why not? Let's take a look at it. Smeargle has kind of fallen off due to the existence of open team sheets. I don't foresee it picking up in usage unless closed team sheets come back. Let's take a look at this. Smeargle is at a 1% usage right now. Its set is very standard usually. It runs Spore, Follow Me, Fake Out, and then I think Spiky Shield a lot of times in like actual tournaments. We can actually look at the oh. Smeargle, when you look at it, actually did not change much. Yeah, so Smeargle, very standard moveset. It's not great. It almost always runs Focus Sash. Who's running? Okay, no, these stats are so goofy. I can understand a Jetpack, but I don't understand running Own Tempo or Technician. Smeargle, it's just not a great Pokemon anymore. Its biggest thing going for it in previous formats was the surprise factor. It doesn't have that anymore. With open team sheets, you can kind of just see what it has, and that's not incredibly useful. So it runs a very standard moveset these days, and it's very limited. Now, one of the interesting things I think is worth noting is the lack of Xerneas and Yveltal from the DLC. So Xerneas is a Pokemon that has previously dominated formats with its Geomancy. Geomancy, incredibly strong. I don't think there's anything more I need to say. Xerneas, busted Pokemon. I'm glad that it's not here. I almost wish that it was, just because I think this strong fairy type could counter a lot of the dragon types we see entering in the meta. But that's kind of like putting a counter for a bunch of busted Pokemon, but then the counter is too busted. I think it's going to be healthy to not have this thing. Although Yveltal, I don't even know how to spell that. Doesn't matter. Yveltal, I am going to miss a little bit more, as very strong dark type moves. I think that will be a bit painful, but they will be legal later, I'm fairly confident, just because Pokemon Legends Z was announced, and I'm sure they'll be in that. Now, I think commenting on some of the Paradox forms is a good idea. Iron Bundle will likely see an increase in usage. I think throwing specs on this thing with speed, Cork Drive from the Koraidon setting up electric terrain, that's going to pack a serious punch. Missing a lot of the Hydro Pumps is going to be kind of annoying, but it does have very strong coverage with Freeze Dry, Blizzard, Ice Beam, Flip Turn. It's fairly good. I think it's definitely a Pokemon to look out for. Iron Hands is a Pokemon that is already insanely good, as a very high usage. I don't even think I have to search it up, I can just scroll down. Am I going actually insane? Where is Iron Hands? 4? That's actually shocking to me. Okay, Iron Hands is a very strong Pokemon. I think Iron Hands Booster Energy Attack with a Fake Out, Wild Charge, Drain Punch, and Ice Punch set. Ice Punch has very good coverage. Actually, even Earthquake could go really strong here. Heavy Slam's strong as well. Sword Stance is a more niche option, but I've personally tried out Sword Stance Iron Hands. It is very fun. It's a very strong set that can deal a lot of damage if you ignore it. Not Booster Energy, but the existence of electric terrain is definitely going to benefit Iron Hands a lot. Iron Hands is already very viable. I think it's going to project it even further. I've heard people mention Iron Moth could be viable. I haven't seen much done with Iron Moth in general. I would love to see Iron Moth get used. I'm just not sure if that's going to happen. Iron Jugulis recently, or actually it's not too recently at this point, but it won a tournament from it was on a team piloted by Wolfglick. He's a very skilled VGC player. I don't see it doing much in the future. Realistically, you can make any Pokemon work if you try hard enough and build around it. I think this was just a case of a very good player building a unique team around a Pokemon he wanted to work. You can realistically make that work with any Pokemon. I don't see a future where Iron Jugulis becomes viable, at least in a restricted format setting. I think in a regional setting, Iron Jugulis has a lot of potential. In a restricted format, I don't see it happening. I don't think this thing is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with things like Miraidon and Koraidon. I don't see it happening. It's a special attacking flying type, and special attacking flying types really don't have a very good option. They have Hurricane with very bad accuracy, or Air Slash with very bad attack. You have to run Air Slash or Hurricane or Terra Blast, which requires you to Terra Flying on this thing, which isn't ideal. Now, a Pokemon I was really excited about. And by excited about, I mean before the stream, I was thinking about what I was going to talk about on the stream in the shower, and it struck me. I think that Rayquaza is probably going to be legal in this format. Now, these are very good stats. The Fortin's weakness to ice is going to be a little bit detrimental with the existence of Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao is a top Pokemon that I think should not be ignored. Where is it on the usage? Yeah, Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao is incredibly strong. But one thing I was thinking about is if Rayquaza is legal, Extreme Speed. E-Killer is a archetype used in a lot of different metagames. You may be familiar with E-Killer Dragonite. So what Dragonite would do in this format is Terra Normal, Choice Band, Extreme Speed. Very strong when put next to Chien-Pao. Entei's done it as well. Hisuian Arcanine has done it. I think Rayquaza is going to be the next E-Killer. Throw Extreme Speed, Choice Band, Terra Normal on this thing next to Chien-Pao. It deals out a lot of damage. Oh wait, when I was running the calculator, I'd sort of ruin up. That still does a lot. That still does a lot. Okay. So let's grab blank set Rayquaza. Throw up Swords of Ruin. Let's do max attack, max HP, and put the rest in defense. Why not? And then nature, let's do, yeah. And then throw on extreme speed. What's a good Pokemon to test it against? Let's throw on Koraidon. Blank set, max bulk. I don't think it's going to run max bulk in this way, but it's worth a shot just to put it to the test. It actually does not do as much as I was hoping it would. Oh, wait. Terra Normal. Okay. That could be worse. Alright, now what if it's running, let's say, 100? Did that even change? Okay. That's actually kind of disappointing. Alright, let's look at some Pokemon currently in usage and test it against those, so that way I have a better understanding of it. Let's try E-Killer against... Let's do Iron Hands. Iron Hands is bulky. And it's one that I'm familiar with, so I can actually get a good idea of if it's decent damage or not. Alright. Okay. Actually, dealing half damage on Assault Vest Iron Hands isn't bad. Iron Hands is a very bulky Pokemon. Let's try... What's another good one? Let's try it into Incineroar. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah. I'll take that. Okay, Rayquaza isn't as busted as I was hoping. But I think it's definitely got potential. Let's take a look at... Actually, there aren't really many other restricted Pokemon to look at. I think I've covered most of the things I wanted to cover. I feel like I'm actually going insane looking at all these things. Now, I'm no VGC professional. I probably should have made that clear at the beginning. This is my first season, or not season, but first time playing VGC. Like Scarlet and Violet. I was never into VGC beforehand. A lot of this is speculation on my behalf. I mean, I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos, but let's be honest, YouTube videos is not the best. I can get a lot of knowledge from people smarter than me on this subject, and I can do my best to relay a lot of that knowledge. But experience is a very crucial thing. I don't have a lot of that. So I could be completely wrong. Like, I could be off my rocker. I mean, I am someone who uses Roaring Moon. Like, oh. Look at this. This is my team. Oh, I keep pressing that button on accident. Like, look at this thing. It's goofy. Yeah, so I think that sums up most of what I wanted to cover. I don't think I actually said very many new things. I mostly just wanted to get a lot of my thoughts out on this current format change. It's far too early to be accurately predicting most of these things. This is primarily speculation, because I'm participating in a tournament very early in this regulation change, and I'm hoping to win that tournament. The only way I can really do that is if I have a solid team. I do wish Ultra Beasts were illegal in the upcoming format. That would be very nice, but they are not. I don't think Zacian and Zamazenta are either. I could be wrong, though. I just don't remember seeing them. I want to check if I'm missing anything before I end the stream. No, I think I've covered everything. Yeah. It'll definitely be an interesting format. I'm very nervous and excited to see what it holds, and I'm hoping I can throw together a solid enough team in the 1 to 2 weeks I have before the tournament. Because the tournament is about 1 to 2 weeks after the regulation change, so that'll be fun. Thank you all for watching. I think I've insanely rambled for long enough, and I'll see you guys later.